You know what's weird? Is that you can find blue everywhere these days. You can find it in art, in clothing, in packaging, and advertising. And even ultramarine blue is more easily accessible. But what if I told you that ultramarine blue used to be rare and so expensive that only the rich and royal could afford it? In my last video on the history of pigments, I spoke about the deadly Shields green and Paris green, and today I am going to dive into the rich history of ultramarine blue and see what made it so special. Hi, if you are new here, I am Jaycene-Fay and welcome to my channel where I talk about art history and give advice to artists. So, if that sounds good to you, I highly recommend that you subscribe for more content like this. Let's talk about the history of ultramarine blue. The name ultramarine comes from the Latin ultra, which means beyond, and mare, which means sea. Beyond the sea. This references its remote origins of Afghanistan, where lapis lazuli has been mined for more than 8,000 years. Before the 19th century, ultramarine blue was made from lapis lazuli, a semi-precious stone with a luminous blue color. Since antiquity, lapis lazuli has been prized for its color and was once even considered more precious than gold. During Renaissance Europe, lapis lazuli was very expensive. This was because of its rarity, but also because of the intensive process of grinding the stone into paint. Only 1 kilogram of lapis lazuli produced 30 grams of pigment. That's 2 tablespoons of paint. This is 2 tablespoons. Can you imagine grinding forever only to produce 2 tablespoons of paint? I would also charge a lot for that. So because of this expense, ultramarine blue was mainly reserved for paintings of the Virgin Mary and other holy figures. The color came to symbolize divinity, humility, and royalty. Because the color was so expensive, this signified the wealth of the patron that commissioned an artwork. Artists would even invoice patrons separately for the pigment so that they could choose how much of the pigment they wanted to pay for. So basically, the more pigment, the bigger the flex. The Renaissance artist Michelangelo couldn't afford ultramarine blue. His painting The Entombment, which is now housed at the National Gallery in London, is said to have been left unfinished because he could not procure the pigment. While during the 17th century, Dutch artist Johannes Vermeer used ultramarine blue in almost all of his paintings, which apparently left him and his family in debt. For example, we see the pigment used in his famous painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earring, where he uses ultramarine as well as lead white in the turban that she wears on her head. And then he finished it off with a glaze of pure ultramarine. So, how was synthetic ultramarine blue developed? The French chemist Jean-Baptiste Guillemet developed it in 1826 by heating kaolinite, sulfur, and sodium carbonate. This pigment was chemically identical to lapis lazuli. However, it was a lot more vibrant and was called French ultramarine. French ultramarine blue was not only more vivid than the original made with lapis lazuli, but it was also more affordable, which made it very popular. And even today, the color is considered essential in many artists' palettes. Famous artists that have used the synthetic ultramarine blue are Claude Monet, Clyfford Still, Mark Rothko, and Yves Klein, amongst others. However, Yves Klein actually took it a step further and in collaboration with Adam Montmartre created his own version of ultramarine blue. He called it International Klein Blue, and he made it by blending a resin binder known as Rhoda Par M with ultramarine pigment. This gave the color a matte finish whilst reserving its extraordinary vibrancy. Today you can still find paint made with lapis lazuli, however the color is more muted than the synthetic version and has a weaker coverage. Well, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed learning about ultramarine blue with me, and if you did, please be sure to check out my other video on Shields green and Paris green. I think that you will enjoy that as well. I hope that you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!